My number one question about the DCCC's involvement in this seat is what is going to stop them from, pulling their promise of $1 million of ads and putting it toward another seat they might find more competitive? Is this $1 million for sure going to be spent in this district? That's my first question.
As you know, this is a priority race for us. The moment that Judy Baker became the Democratic nominee, we put her on what is known as the Red the Blue program. That's a program for our priority candidates around the country, and that is why we also reserve television time in this district, because we're committed to this race. We're committed to seeing this race through. We got a terrific candidate here, and what our job is at the DCCC is to help supplement the efforts of the campaign. As you know, this has been a very successful campaign in its own right. After all, they went through a primary without any help from anybody on the outside. So our job is to try and provide a little bit of extra boost where it's needed. So if we make a determination that will help, or if there are other outside parties that come in, whatever the mix is, we're going to be watching closely, and we are committed to this race.
In 2006, Congressman Holsoff won this district by 61% of the vote. There are some political scientists who believe that geographically this district is way too Republican to be taken over by a Democrat. How come your group disagrees with that?
Well, we think that people in this district, like others around the country, are hungry for change after 7 years of policies of the Bush administration. And Judy Baker represents that change in direction. We talked today about the importance of children's health care. That was a common sense solution to a real problem. The president said no and vetoed it. The incumbent here, Holsoff, when he stuck with the president. We think that people want to see change on those issues. I would also point out that in the most recent 3 special elections we've seen around the country, you've seen Democratic candidates win in congressional districts that were strongly carried by George Bush in the last presidential election. In Mississippi, a Democrat won in a district George Bush carried with 61% of the vote. In Louisiana, a district George Bush carried with 60% of the vote. And in Illinois, a district that George Bush won with 59% of the vote. So we had candidates in those districts that, like Judy Baker, represented the desire people had to change.
In a neighboring state, Kansas, Nancy Boyd actually rejected money that the DCCC was going to put into this race. I'm assuming it's not going to happen in Kay Barnes' race or Judy Baker's race. They seem very much wanting your support. Is there some risk, though, in having an outside group come into a congressional race? It gives an opponent a pretext to say, hey, this group is attacking me, I'm going to attack back.
Well, let's just take the Kay Barnes race as an example. What you saw there was this outside shadowy group, so-called Freedom's Watch, was actually the first to go in there and start spending money on very duplicitous radio ads about Kay Barnes. In fact, they got their facts wrong, and Kay Barnes' campaign was successful in getting a number of them pulled. So we want to make sure that when these other groups go in, our candidates also have the resources they need. We'll have to make judgments as to what is necessary and what the other side is doing. But Freedom's Watch, people should understand. I mean, they are one of these groups that is totally non-transparent. They are funded by some very wealthy Bush supporters, and we need to make sure that our candidates have some resources to fight back against those kind of groups.
Would it be fair to say, though, that these $1 million worth of ads, are a lot of them going to be criticizing former Representative Blaine Luchtenmeyer's record, or are they going to be propping up the successes you feel that Judy Baker brings to the table?
Well, it's important people understand that the DCCC actually cannot control the content of those ads. By law, they are done as an independent expenditure form. So there is actually no coordination allowed there, and they cannot coordinate with the campaign. Just looking at other races, what I've seen is that the ads run by the DCCC are designed to, number one, talk about the record of the candidates that they support, and number two, hold other people accountable for their records. This is going to be a race on the issues, and obviously Judy Baker's record is something that she's proud of and is going to talk about, and I'm sure she will also contrast her record with the record of her opponent. After all, she has an opponent who also has a voting record, and people will get to choose on those issues.
One last question. As far as these 2 congressional races go, how far on the totem pole are they? Are they the highest of the high, or in the middle? Are they on the low?
No, these are important priority races.
And how come you decided to do this, especially since these districts before the incumbents won by very solid margins? Why did you decide to do that?
Because when we looked at them, we made a determination, number one, that we had really strong candidates. Even in the primary field on the Democratic side, we had a number of strong candidates. Judy Baker emerged as the strongest of a strong field. Kay Barnes has got a terrific record as well, both in terms of her tenure as mayor of Kansas City, as well as having a background. You know, she's from St. Joe's, and so she knows the issues and challenges in rural areas as well. So we had two terrific candidates. We had congressional districts that, by all indications, were hungry for a change in direction after the Bush-Cheney years. And when you put that together with the kind of moods changes that are taking place in the country, as we saw in the special elections, we thought that people would want to send a message of change, and we have the candidates that represent that.